So I put the special right triangles on a piece of tracing paper so that we could see which sides line up. For 45, 45, 90, you have x, x, and the hypotenuse is x root 2. For 30, 60, 90, you have the short side is x, the hypotenuse is twice that amount, and the other leg is x times root 3. So just looking at the first problem that we have here, I want to line up this triangle to the same orientation that it has, and it looks like each leg, the legs are up here, so x and x, and then this is the hypotenuse, so this is the x root 2 side. So what did they end up giving me? They ended up giving me one of the legs. Yay, that makes our lives easier. So if x is 5 root 2, that means my other leg is also 5 root 2, and that is called v. So v is also 5 root 2. Now u is equal to x times root 2. And we already know what x is. We know x is 5 root 2. So we plug that in for x. U equals 5 root 2 times root 2. This is just 5 times, and we have root 2 times root 2 is just 2, so 5 times 2. So u, our hypotenuse, is 10, and our other leg is 5 root 2. Number 2, we need to know which sides correspond, so I'm going to line up my 30, 60, 90. This is the 60-degree angle. The short side touches the 60-degree angle, so this is the x. This is the x root 3, and this is the 2x. I don't like that they labeled these x and y just because that's too many x's going on. We already have x's in both of these problems that aren't even the same x. So I'm going to call this y, I'm going to call it z, just to make our lives easier. So they gave us the other leg, and so we write an equation. X root 3 equals 6, and solve for x so we can get our short side. Divide both sides by root 3. X equals 6 over root 3. However, a radical cannot be in the denominator, so we times by root 3 over root 3, which is just a special form of the number 1, and we get 6 root 3 over 3. Reduce 6 over 3, so x, your short side, is 2 root 3. All right, so z is the short side, or we also call it x in terms of the sides of any 30, 60, 90. So that is also to say that z is 2 root 3 because those are just referring to the same side. That means that, okay, I changed the y into being a z instead of changing the x. Good job. So the x will be, we will call it r. Sorry. So then r is equal to 2x, which means that, okay, I know what x is. It's right here. Plug it in for x. That would be times the numbers in front, and root 3 just goes along for the ride. So we have r, and we have z, or what used to be y. I meant to change the 1 with the x. My bad. Okay, then I'm going to look at, okay, this is a 45, 45, 90. The side they gave me the hypotenuse, this is the x root 2 side, and the other legs are x and x. And again, I'm going to change the x into a z, this time the x, so that we don't have to deal with so many x's going on. Write an equation with what they gave you and what the original side is. So x root 2 is equal to 10 root 2. To solve, divide both sides by root 2. And we have x is equal to, oh, root 2 over root 2 is 1. 10 times 1 is 10. Awesome. So they gave you the hypotenuse. All you needed to find was the leg, which is x, which we just found. Woohoo! Yay! So y is equal to 10 and z is equal to 10 based off of the variables that they gave us / we made up. Another 45, 45, 90. Okay, they gave us the hypotenuse again. This is the x root 2 side, this is the x side, and this is the x side. I'm going to change the x into a z. All right. So for write an equation with the given information and the original side from the special right triangle. X root 2 equals 4. Divide both sides by root 2. X is equal to 4 over root 2. Remember, the radical cannot be in the denominator, so we times by root 2 over root 2. And we get 4 root 2 over 2, reduce 4 over 2. So x, or both of our legs, is 2 root 2, which means that y equals 2 root 2 and z equals 2 root 2. Here we have a 30, 60, 90, lining it up with the same orientation as our special right triangles. We see, okay, this is the x root 3 side, the 2x side, and this is the x side. They gave us x. Awesome, they gave us the short side. X equals 3 root 3. So for anything else, we just plug in our x. To find v, v equals x root 3. Plug in 3 root 3 for x. Three times, what is root 3 times root 3? 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Then you have u is equal to 2x. Plug in x. Non-root numbers can times with non-root numbers, so we write 6 and then just write the radical 3 next to it because there's nothing more we can do with that. And finally, lining these up, this is the x root 3 side, this is the 2x side, and this is the x side. I'm going to change this little x to be a z. And write my equation. The side they gave me is the hypotenuse. If 2x is equal to 4, then what is x by itself? The short side. Awesome, the short side is 2. So if x is 2, that means that in our case of this particular triangle, y is equal to 2. And then we can write an equation for the other leg, which states z is equal to x root 3. And if 2 is x, z is equal to 2 root 3.